through today's community comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
And it's 9 minutes after 10 o'clock on this beautiful Monday morning, and time for community comment. We go to the Daily Dodge TV. Wow, haven't introduced this in a long time. To the Daily Dodge TV room. Let's just call it that for now. Here is Terry Bell.
We have not one but two guests with the program today. The first half of our show, we're going to be talking with Josh Schoemann, the Washington County Executive. We'll be talking with him about a number of things, including the aftermath of flooding from a few weeks ago, the biennial budget, which is being presented to the county board coming up on the 10th. And one of the bigger news stories coming out of Washington County in recent weeks is the sale of the UWM Washington County campus. We'll be talking about many of those things and much more. In the second half of the show, we'll be joined by Dodge County Emergency Management Director Joe Meagher. He'll be getting us up to date on what has happened since a train derailed near Reeseville on August 15th involving a Canadian Pacific train carrying crude oil, and that is coming up after the news at 10:30. For now, we welcome Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann to the program. Josh, thanks for being flexible this morning with your schedule. I appreciate it, and welcome to Community Comment.
No problem. It's what neighbors do. Thanks for having me again. Happy
course.
Monday.
Of course, happy Monday. So this is a busy time of year, every 2 years, I should say. But coming up is the biennial budget presentation that will be made to the county board. That's coming up on Wednesday. And can you give us some of the highlights?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. It is, for us, it's a biennial budget process, so once every 2 years. For most other counties, it's still annual. But for us, this is an extra big one since it's that 2-year process. And, of course, you know, it's a little bit extra complicated because the state of Wisconsin isn't living up to their end of the bargain on some things, specifically court funding, which we've talked about before. Counties are carrying the weight of about 80% of the cost of running the court system, and so we'll continue to take on that unfunded mandate here in Washington County, as will every other county in the state, but it puts a heck of a strain on our budget. Still, nonetheless, the highlights of this budget that I'll propose on Wednesday are the lowest tax rate since before World War I. It'll be about half, just under half of what it was when I first came to the county in 2013. So it was about $2.84 per thousand when I arrived in 2013, and this budget for 2026 in particular, it'll be about $1.42. So we're super excited about that. More importantly, though, than the tax collections, I think you're going to see property taxes, the other districts in particular, go up pretty substantially, especially school districts, with that 402-year veto by Governor Evers, which allows for approximately a $325 property tax increase on the average house in every school district. So what we're doing at the county level is holding the line. And my goal is both in 2026 to hold the line, which will keep our tax levy lower than it was when I first was elected county executive back in 2020. And then we'll have a modest increase in 2027 to fund an ongoing co-responder unit, which is a sheriff's deputy and a social worker that were recently added in the sheriff's office. So all in all, just holding the line on taxes, which is good news for our bosses, the constituents here in Washington County.
How much does the budget propose spending overall?
Yeah, proposed spending overall kind of bounces up and down, and the reason for that is we have a couple of big road projects where the investments go up, but holistically from 2013 when I first got to the county until this upcoming budget, we've had a total of 12% increase, which just for context, I mean the state budget that was just approved, that one biennial budget the state adopted was a 12% increase in 2 years. So We are more like about a 1% per year average.
Okay, but that comes to like as a dollar figure just for this 2-year cycle. What does that come to?
It'll come to about 145 on average, a little bit lower than that probably, but somewhere in that 140 to 145 million dollar range.
Very good. And again, it requires how much? Now you make this presentation on Wednesday.
Yes.
Then how much? How much? What's the word I'm looking for? How much do the county board? How much can the county board change that proposal once it's in their hands?
Well, theoretically, they could take it and throw it in the trash can and start over, like the legislature did to Governor Evers. But practically speaking, we've been in constant communication with the county board, and that's one of the biggest differences for how I have run things as chief executive officer here at the county. We have continually updated them on what we expect for property tax increases across all districts. We have also kept them up to speed on some of the significant changes that they are likely to see so that we can achieve that flat property tax, particularly in 2026. And we have kept them in tune with a number of the big capital projects that cause some of that fluctuation that I talked about before. So they won't be surprised by anything they hear. And they will go through their individual committees. They've already once talked about some of the substantive changes that they should anticipate seeing that are generally in the six figures or more. And now they'll have a chance to make tweaks and modifications, including budget amendment motions, over the course of about the next 4 to 5 weeks. And then our executive committee meets in early October, and they will have the formal public hearing. That's where everything will kind of get negotiated out, and then finally gets presented to the county board in early November when they'll make their final vote.
We're talking to Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann on community comments. We're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the sale of the UW Washington County campus, something that's generating a lot of conversation in the community. Stay with us. We'll be back on Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Separate us. A peace of mind.
Daily Dodge, presented by Professional Floor Covering.
And it is 19 minutes after 10 o'clock at your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV. Back to the Daily Dodge TV studio, and here you go.
Thank you very much, Jeff. We visit each time this month with Josh Schoemann, the Washington County Executive, just next door. Forgot to mention that if you have a question or a comment for Josh, you can join the program by calling or texting 920-887-9595 or calling us right here at the studio at 885-4446. Just recently, the county approved the sale of the UW Milwaukee Washington County campus to the Ozaki Christian Academy. And there were some other bidders for that project, but what is it that tipped the scales in favor of Ozaki Christian Academy?
Yeah, thanks for asking about it. It's been a long journey here for the last year and a half since UW Milwaukee and the UW system proposed that, or announced, I guess I should say, that they were going to close our campus. And for the last year, we've been working hard to try and find the highest and best use. Particularly, we wanted to try to keep the education component and the community opportunity. You know, it's been a facility, an institution that's been invested in for 60 years as a school and as a place for people to gather. And so we worked through a process of trying to have open dialogue about that, including creating a task force with local leaders and local realtors, commercial realtors, and our county treasurer, Scott Henke. And it was a really good, and the mayor himself from West Bend. And it was a really good process. We ended up with 7 or 8 different letters of interest. Really, it came down to 2 that were fiscally sustainable. One was from a national charter school who offered to lease a large portion of the 200,000 square foot facility and essentially cover the operating and capital outlay costs annually, and all the rest of the building could have been utilized for other things. But there was a lot of consternation and angst about that proposal out in the community, and the timing was such that it would have forced us to really look at starting next year rather than sooner. And for Washington County and all the things we talked about with our biennial budget challenge, we really can't afford to wait another year. It costs the county about $600,000 a year in operating and capital outlay just to keep the facility, in decent working order, even though it's vacant. And so Ozaki Christian School was the other proposal, and they offered $3 million for the purchase of the building and the property, potentially in conjunction with the Cedar Lake Conservation Foundation to take over a bunch of the property around it. And sometimes the way to save something is to sell something. And we found that with our county nursing home, and now we found it again here with our UW campus. So we're excited to partner with Ozaki Christian and make that sale to them and see them utilize it for the education purposes it was originally designed for, and hopefully keep some options open for our community members to be able to utilize it in some way, shape, or form.
Was it important that the facility continue operating as a school of one kind or another, or was it just going to go to the best and most feasible bid no matter what?
There was certainly a bias towards an educational purpose, but I think that was simply because when you walk through the building, it's a school. There's quite literally a gymnasium and classrooms and chalkboards, I guess marker boards, and lecture halls and all of those things, a library. So I think even when you look at the appraisal, the appraisal basically spells out how they appraised it for its existing use, which was a school. So I think that was just inherently in what we wanted to see, and it's a logical conclusion for how the community can use it best. Hopefully, that gymnasium and the Performing Arts Center and things like that can still have some semblance of community use, and we're looking forward to Ozaki Christian being the facilitator of allowing for that to still happen.
How much of a relief will it be for Washington County and West Bend to not be on the hook for maintaining the campus?
Oh, it'll be a significant relief. It's one thing when you have a good tenant, a good partner, like the UW system was for 55 plus years. But when they walked away, it's a whole nother ball of wax. And we found that as we went through this task force process. I think I look at what Fond du Lac County is doing, and I give Sam Kaufman a lot of credit up there, the county executive up there. But they are working tirelessly just to try to get to a break even and maybe make a little bit of revenue. I look at what we have. It's different. We have one building. They have multiple buildings. We have 80 acres. They have a campus right in the middle of the Moraine Park Technical College campus and the high school campus. So it's a different ballgame up there. But for us to play landlord like that with one physical unit all attached, it would have just been a disaster. County government isn't built to be a landlord, and so I think this is the best way to save the educational and community purpose is to sell it. So I'm excited. I think Ozaki Christian's had a long presence here in Washington County. They've been growing in the last several years, and they have hopes and dreams to grow even further, and we're excited to give them that opportunity here with this facility rather than building something brand new.
You mentioned the school's growth. For the time being, as I understand it, Ozaki Christian Academy is still a relatively small enterprise, and there may be some concern out there whether it's probably well suited for a facility as large as this.
Yeah, no, I have heard a lot of criticism about that. They only have 160 or 180 some students, kindergarten through 8th grade. But listen, I don't know how much you know about our neck of the woods, but Kettle Moraine Lutheran High School is located in Jackson, Wisconsin, and they started in the basement of a church 50 years ago. They now are pushing 700 students and doing quite well. So there's definitely a template and a format that works. Winnebago Lutheran Academy is doing a big expansion, or new construction, I guess I should say, up in Fond du Lac. So the templates exist. Ozaki Christian is trying to follow that template, and I'm confident they'll be successful. There's a lot of positive momentum, and I know a few of their benefactors. I'm quite confident not only will they have the money, but they'll also have the students year after year.
We've been talking with Josh Schoemann, Washington County Executive, on Community Comment. Josh, thanks for taking time for your busy schedule to speak with us.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Everybody have a wonderful week, and take care.
Coming up next, we're going to be talking with Joe Meagher, the Dodge County Emergency Management Director, about progress on the cleanup of the train derailment near Reeseville. But we're going to take a break here for the news. We will be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
studio. Once again, here's Gary Bell.
Thank you very much, Jeff. On August 15th at about 2 in the afternoon, a Canadian Pacific freight train derailed between Maiden Lane Road and the village of Reeseville in the town of Lowell. The train, which was made up of 95 cars, had about 22 cars derail. Some of them were leaking crude oil. Fortunately, there were no injuries reported, including none of the train crew. Since then, it has been a busy job of cleaning up after that derailment, and much discussion happening about how to prevent this from happening again. And joining us on the line now is Joe Meagher. He's the Dodge County Emergency Management Director. Joe, thank you. I know you're very busy this morning. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Terry.
Of course. If you have a question or a comment for Joe Meagher, we invite you to join the program at 920-887-9595. You can call or text, or you can call us here at the studio at 885-4446. Well, it has been 3 weeks or so since that derailment. Joe, please get us up to date on what has happened since then.
Sure. So, as I believe we had reported before, the response from the rail company and the CPCK has been extensive, and it started immediately upon our notification of the call. They've brought in state and federal resources to assist with the cleanup. The oversight right now is by NTSB and other federal officials, including the DNR and Fish and Wildlife, to make sure that the process is being conducted adequately. And a lot of times with hazmat type incidents, it's slow and methodical response to make sure that we don't cause anything else to be catastrophic. So we certainly appreciate that from them. They have been providing us with daily updates, incident command system type forms that kind of lets us know the process that they're following. And we have been in real close contact with them throughout the last 3 weeks.
As of about a week ago, I think 8 of the cars had been removed, 22 or so went off the tracks. But as you explained to me last week, this process is necessarily meticulous and by some definitions even slow.
Yeah, and that's correct. The request from the federal investigators was that the cars need to be removed. They need to be offloaded and removed. They also need to be what they call scrubbed, both on the inside and the outside. And then they are then within the lot there, transported, cut up, and gotten rid of appropriately.
One thing that I have heard quite a bit is there's a lot of relief that there wasn't any need for a mass evacuation. There was crude oil on the train, but no hazardous chemicals got out into the community. This could have been a lot worse had just a few facts of this situation been different.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Our initial response there was emergent, and we were taking information from different reporting parties that they believed it was ethanol. That certainly, hypes our level of awareness and the thoughts of evacuations based on kind of the characteristics of ethanol. We quickly then determined, based on the railroad feedback and the consist of the train, that it was crude oil.
Still, I imagine with how much crude oil got out of the cars and how much got into the soil, and how big a job is that going to be to remove it?
So they are required to do regular soil testing. So we know that the cars, or we were at least advised that the cars can have in excess of 33,000 gallons within them. So we knew that at least the one that had catastrophically kind of buried itself in the ground was leaking beyond anybody's really ability to control it. We know from prior experience that as they remove those cars, they have to continually test the soil. So they test soil all the way down until they don't receive any more readings of out with the crude being at this time. So it's continuous soil monitoring by the companies that are working out there.
How long do you think it will be before the wreckage is completely cleared away from the site?
So we were originally advised about a month, and I think they're right on schedule with that now. Of course, I think things will start wrapping up within the next 2-3 weeks. I think that, or what we've been advised, I should say, is that NTSB takes between 9 and 12 months to make a determination as to what happened. So we're certainly anxious about getting that report, but we're also concerned moving forward here with it being, almost the 2-year anniversary of the original train derailment that had happened there.
Yeah, and you raise a good point. This is, as you say, the second time this has happened in a little over 2 years, and I think if you go back 20 years or so, this is the third time there's been a derailment in that general area. And of course, people will speculate whether there's one common denominator behind all 2 or 3 of these.
That's correct, and I do not remember the one from 20 years ago. But we do have some folks that have been involved in emergency response since then. And I know that they made improvements, and that's been a topic of discussion. We know that they made improvements and they increased the speed of which the train runs through at that location. Of course, people can speculate that that's the possibility of the reasoning for the train derailing, just based on the speed and such. And then there's also discussion on the quality of the sort of marshy area and the base that the train runs over.
We mentioned that it was good that we avoided a worst-case scenario. There was some inconvenience, though. Those are the same tracks that Amtrak uses to get between Chicago and the Twin Cities, and a lot of Amtrak schedules had to be changed.
Oh, that's absolutely true. The initial response from their hazardous materials guy that we've done extensive training with and had close contact with in the last derailment said that they were considering it a federal response because it was stopping that train traffic, the passenger car train traffic. And when we talk about the passenger cars, that's another level of concern from our perspective, is the possibility of an Amtrak being affected there. Certainly when we were working the fare and being advised by our dispatch of the derailment, that's the first thing that comes to our mind, and certainly a really scary thing.
We're talking to Dodge County Emergency Management Director Joe Meagher about the August 15th derailment near Reeseville and what is being done since then. We need to take a short break here, but we will be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
The Beaver Dam High School girls volleyball team hosts Wanna.
These are the happenings in your community. Thank you for joining this edition of Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge, presented by Professional Floor Covering.
14 minutes before 11 o'clock at WBEV. Back to the Daily Dodge TV studio and Terry Bell.
Thank you, Jeff. We are talking about the train derailment that happened near Reeseville back on August 15th, how it might have happened and what's being done since then. Maybe you have some questions or some insight. If you do, you can call us or text us at 920-887-9595 or call the studio at 885-4446. We are joined this half hour by Joe Meagher. He's Dodge County's Emergency Management Director. There are a lot of thoughts and perhaps a lot of educated guesses as to how this started, but how long will the actual investigation, Joe, play itself out?
Okay, so I'm hearing 12 months. That's kind of the magic number. I don't know if that can be expedited. I haven't got any intel on that.
Okay. Is it likely one thing causing both of the derailments in the last 2 years, or is it possible that it might be some kind of coincidence?
That's certainly a possibility. Of course, I don't have the knowledge, I guess, at this point to be able to point the finger in any one direction. It would be railroad officials and those involved with transportation safety.
Certainly. In your job as emergency management director, what sorts of things do you have to be prepared to possibly take care of when you first get the notification that a train is derailed?
Yeah, so we're definitely looking at it in the emergency management perspective of the 100-mile perspective. We are sort of the logistics and the support for the local fire, EMS, law enforcement when something like this happens. We conduct training, we attend training and conferences throughout the years that have linked us up with the folks that really know how to respond to stuff of this sort. It's sort of one of those things that many EM directors don't go through within their careers. So always looking to make contacts and networking. I can tell you that rail has been extremely a good partner with us over the past many years in conducting training and exercising and such within our conferences.
Of all the things you have to be prepared for, Joe, to respond to, as we know, we had a bad bout of severe weather in May in particular, but it's been kind of a stormy summer all season long. Just kind of where on the list does a potential train derailment fall upon, like, the things that you really have to be ready to respond to?
Certainly, depending on the type of goods that are being hauled within the train, it's a huge concern. The train runs through a lot of our communities between Columbus and as it exits to the east. So certainly a good concern. We do know that the railroad has dangerous good folks, and they're constantly monitoring what goes where. And we're not necessarily completely aware of things as it comes through at any specific time, but we are, through transportation studies and commodity flow studies, we're aware of what's on the trains. And actually, when you look at the overall picture for concern and issues that arise, it's safer to move goods on a train than it is to have a semi-trailer running down the highway hauling it.
I know some people prefer to travel by train because they're concerned about any safety issues with flying, but oh my goodness, I hate to even say this out loud, but what if this had happened when a passenger train was going through?
Yeah, I mean that would be a very scary issue. we know that through our planning and exercising that we've done within the fire departments, the EMS, the mutual aid box alarm system, we have these sort of target discussions and are prepared to respond to it, but it certainly would quickly be overwhelming, and we'd be definitely calling in additional, surrounding support.
You mentioned that the railroad has been a good partner in this process, and it's also my understanding that the cost of dealing with this all falls on the railroad, that this will not be a taxpayer-funded job to get this cleaned up?
That's correct. The railroad has their own auditing folks and their own financial folks. We're only required to provide them with an invoice, and all of those charges are covered. Our office administrates the hazmat team, the hazardous materials truck, and responders did respond to that call. Was immediately requested by the CLR fire chief, and through mutual aid box alarm requests, we had not only the hazmat team but additional fire and EMS units that responded, and all of those costs, including the usage of our truck, some of the materials that we use to attempt to mitigate some of the leaks, is all covered, including the manpower from our office's perspective.
As I understand it, only one person, I don't want to say had to be evacuated. They voluntarily evacuated. Nobody was forced out of their homes on August 15th, is my understanding. That's
correct. Yeah, the farmer or the rural home that's at the end of the road there, they voluntarily evacuated. We know that if it would have been a fire situation, there was some concern with explosions and that type of thing. We felt as though we were far enough away from the remote area that it was in. It gave us a level of concern, that it was alleviated.
As you mentioned, it could be a year or so before final determinations are made about the cause. Will Dodge County play any part in the solution to any problems that are identified after the investigation?
So certainly in discussion with the sheriff and one of our county board representatives that represents that area, they have already reached out to the federal folks and initiated conversation with the concern with the train derailing within the last 2 years, 2 derailments. So they're hoping that with that information being passed on, that we can expedite a determination of what can be done at that point.
And again, would that be a federal job? Would that be the railroad's job? Would Dodge County be on the hook for any possible solutions?
Yeah, I don't believe the county would be on the hook for a solution, but I think we can be somewhat of the advocate for our residents, and especially when we're talking to senators, congressmen, that type of thing, and those that oversee kind of the operations of the investigative folks at the state and federal level.
As bad as the derailment was, the big relief that you feel and a lot of your colleagues feel is that it wasn't any worse. Give some praise to the people who helped make this possible, that this was not any worse than maybe it could have been.
Yeah, no. Looking back on the response, it played like clockwork. Everything from our response and our request, reaching out to request the hazmat team, the immediate contact that I had with the CLR chief, he says, "Hey, where are you at?" And I said, "I'm at the fair." He says, "I hope you know what's going on." And I said, "Absolutely," and we're en route. While I was en route, I was actually on the phone with CP Rail's hazardous goods individual, Tony. We were discussing what was on the train even prior to my arrival there, which we had then determined that it was the crude. And then everything from requests from the sheriff for a drone team, requests from local fire departments to bring in drones. The drones were huge in us being able to get to that location because it was remote, because it's in a marshy area, to safely get our eyes on it, to make sure that what we thought was happening was actually there. So the response from everybody was amazing, and we can be thankful that there wasn't any injuries. But we're certainly ready and prepared should something like that happen.
I'm glad you mentioned the drones. That has to have made a huge difference in the abilities that you and other people who deal with emergencies, now that you have this tool at your disposal.
Yeah, the drones were a huge asset, and they were up within 15, 20 minutes of the original call, and we were taking in the drone footage both live as well as the departments forwarding it on to us, the pictures, and kind of working through that type of request for information.
Very good. Joe Meagher is Dodge County's Emergency Management Director. Joe, it's been an enlightening 30 minutes. We want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you, Terry.
You've been listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Thanks for listening.
Find contest rules information for